This is Chad Brashears, and you're listening to Never in My Wildest Dream podcast. This podcast is about creating a behind-the-scenes look with coaches, fans, and reporters from our point of view, sharing cool stories as only we've lived them. The goal is for you to learn something new to help your life and allow yourself to take a break from everyday chaos and let us give you a behind-the-scenes look into our world. Never in My Wildest Dreams podcast begins in
3, 2, 1.
Good morning and welcome to Never in My Wildest Dream podcast. Today is February the 17th, 2021, day 17 of the second month of the new year. Looking forward to today's show. We're going to talk sports wrap. We're going to talk Wednesday wisdom. We also have Nate Naylor, the head coach at St. James on the women's team on today, so looking forward to all of that. Let's first start in the world of sports. With the real field temperature right now being about 10 degrees outside, let's start in the NHL. In last night's action, the Islanders beat the Sabres 3-0. The Capitals beat the Penguins 3-1. The Devils beat the Rangers 5-2. The Avalanche beat the Golden Knights 3-2. And on to tonight's action. The Rangers travel to Philadelphia to take on the Fly, and the Islanders are in Pittsburgh to take on the Penguins. The Predators are in Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets. The Sabres are in the nation's capital to take on the Capitals. The Sharks travel to St. Louis to take on the Blues. The Lightning are in Dallas to take on the Stars. And the Kings are in Glendale to take on the Coyotes. On to the NBA. Let's first start with last night's action. The Celtics beat the Nuggets 112-99. The Pelicans beat the Grizzlies 144-113. The Raptors beat the Bucks 124-113. The Lakers win 112-104 over the Timberwolves. The Trailblazers beat the Thunder 114-104. And the Nets beat the Suns 128-124. The only game postponed in the NBA last night was the Spurs and the Pistons. On to tonight's contest. The Pistons travel to the Bulls. The Trailblazers play in New Orleans against the Pelicans. The Thunder are in Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. The Heat are at the Chase Center to take on the Golden State Warriors. The Utah Jazz travel to LA to take on the Clippers. The New York Knicks are in Orlando to take on the Magic. The Hawks are in Boston to take on the Celtics. The Rockets are in Philadelphia to take on the 76ers. The Nuggets are in the nation's capital to take on the Wizards. The Pacers travel to the Timberwolves. And the other game canceled this evening is the Spurs versus the Cavaliers. On to college basketball from last night. Northwestern traveled to number 5 Illinois last night and lost 73-66. Number 20 Missouri played at Georgia last night and Georgia upset them 80-70. And Florida traveled to Arkansas last night and Arkansas wins 75-64. Two postponed games last night was number 15 Texas Tech was hosting TCU. And number 18, Virginia Tech, was to play in the Dean Dome against North Carolina. In not top 25 matchups in the Big 12, Oklahoma State beats Iowa State 74-58. That is all from last night in college basketball. On to today's games. First start with top 25 matchups. Arizona State travels to number 17 Southern California. Valparaiso is at number 22 Loyola of Chicago. Number 23, Kansas, is in Manhattan to take on Kansas State. South Carolina travels to number 19, Tennessee. East Carolina was supposed to play at number 6, Houston, but that game has been postponed. Now on to not top 25 matchups. The Marquette Golden Eagles are playing in Hinkle Fieldhouse to take on the Butler Bulldogs. DePaul is traveling to Newark to take on Seton Hall. Kentucky is in Nashville to take on Tennessee. In the Battle of Richmond, the Richmond Spiders are traveling to VCU to take on the Rams at the Siegel Center this evening. Other postponed games in the A-10. St. Joe's was supposed to play at GW this evening, and Duquesne was supposed to play at George Mason. In Big Ten action, Nebraska is back at College Park this evening on back-to-backs, and Minnesota is traveling to Assembly Hall to take on Indiana. And in a game right over the mountain, Wagner plays Mount St. Mary's this evening in Knott Arena. That is all for sports. Wednesday Wisdom when we come back. Never in My Wildest Dreams podcast begins in
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Never in My Wildest Dreams podcast. Looking forward to this next segment, Wednesday Wisdom. And as I said earlier, today is February the 17th. On 1963, Michael Jordan was born. It's his 58th birthday. We're going to use a little bit of Michael's wisdom to pass along to you today. Got a text from my brother. Ironically, he is in Wilmington on business. Took care of a couple things I'm sure you guys read about in the newspaper yesterday down in Wilmington. And today he stopped by 4647 Gordon Road, which was Michael Jordan's childhood home, as well as Elmsley Laney High School, where it all started. So here's a little bit of wisdom from Michael Jordan. I got this from The Last Dance. As I watched that, I got more motivated. Ironically, we couldn't play at that time, but now that we are in season, I use this a little bit every day to rev me up for the guys. Michael said, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games, and then 26 times I was trusted to take the game-winning shot and I missed it. I have failed over and over again in my life, and this is why I succeed. If you had a chance to catch The Last Dance, episode 7 at the ending was my very favorite. And I know it's crazy to think how he actually was mentally and how he pushed his teammates probably to a level that they'd never been pushed to before, but they did succeed. And after the fact, they realized why they succeeded because of Michael's pushing them on a daily basis. Here's what he said at the end of that episode. Winning has a price, and leadership has a price. So I pulled people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenged people when they didn't want to be challenged. I earned this right because the teammates that came after me, they didn't endure all the things that I endured. Once you join the team, you live at a certain standard that I played the game at, and I refuse to take anything less. Now that means I have to go in there and get in your backside a little bit, then I did that. You ask all my teammates. The one thing about Michael Jordan was this. He never asked me to do anything he wouldn't do. When people see this, they're going to say, well, he really wasn't a nice guy. He may have been a tyrant. Well, that's you because you never won anything. I wanted to win, but I wanted them to win and be a part of it as well. At the end, he kind of gets a little emotional when he says, look, I don't have to do this. I'm only doing this because this is who I am. This is how I played the game. This was my mentality. If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. Michael was raw at the very end of that. And honestly, that's probably one of the only times we've ever seen him that raw because he's usually closed off to the public in that facet. But if you listen to exactly what he was saying and how he pushed his teammates to be successful, that's the reason that I feel as though he's the very best. The wisdom he had right there in a couple quotes stick with me every single day. Winning has a price, and leadership has a price. And as a head coach, I understand what that price is, and I understand what that price feels like. And most days, it's a very difficult spot to be in because no matter how hard you try or how good you do, there's still a price you're paying in every other little aspect of the coaching world. On March 19th, 1995, Michael Jordan came back out of retirement from the world of baseball to come back and play against the Indiana Pacers. Simple quote, I'm back. We all have heard that. What impresses me the most about this part of it was they lost to Orlando in the playoffs. Horace Grant was on that team. He celebrated. He was all pumped up. Tim Grover tells the story. That's Michael's personal trainer. He said after the season, usually there's a period of time where Michael takes some time off. The night after they lost to Orlando, I said, Michael, I'm about to get out of here. Let me know when you want to see me. He said very simply, I'll see you tomorrow. Michael had an obligation to himself, the fans, his teammates, the organization, his family, everybody. He said, if you're going to sit down and take 3 hours out of your day to watch me on TV, I have an obligation to give you my best. To give you my best all the time. And I think we can take a lot from that. If you don't feel as though you're giving your best to your boss or to a loved one or to your kids, just remember that quote. You have an obligation to give your very best all the time. And I think you'll be really surprised what results you get from that. This is Wednesday Wisdom We will be on the phones when we come back. Never in My Wildest Dreams podcast begins in
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Never in My Wildest Dreams podcast. Looking forward to my next guest. It's Ethan Downie. Ethan is a brand new basketball player at South for me this year. Looking forward to coaching him. He's been awesome for the last week or so that we've been in the gym. And, I think you guys are really going to enjoy getting to know him as well as watching him play basketball for the next 2 years as a South Hagerstown Rebel. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're welcome, bud. How's your day so far?
It's going pretty good.
Classes aren't too bad yet?
Nope, not yet.
Good. So I got a couple questions for you so my listeners can kind of get to know who's on my roster and a little bit about you guys as they read about you in the paper this coming season. So here are the questions for you. What sports do you currently play at South High?
I currently run cross country, and I'm currently playing basketball right now at South High.
Are you going to do anything in the springtime as well?
I'm thinking about running track, but I also might just work out and get better condition for the year.
Nice. So, obviously, the game of basketball has been something in your life. I've known your dad. Your dad played college ball as well. When did you get into the game of basketball?
I first started playing basketball when I was in kindergarten at Rockland Woods for the Rockland Woods basketball program, and my parents were my coaches there, so it was pretty cool.
Very nice.
Start that young with my parents.
You know what? I did the exact same thing. I played in the YMCA basketball league, and my dad was my coach as well, so I can totally understand that. So, in all of the sports that you've played, what's your favorite sports moment?
I would probably have to say my favorite sports moment would have been my freshman year. I was on the JV team at Grace with my dad coaching, and we went to Broad Fording, who was the top team in the league, had all the exchange students that everyone was afraid of. We went into their gym. We took it down to the last 2 minutes. It was a 2-point game, and I stole the ball, and we were down 2, and I threw it to my teammate Trey down the other end. He made the layup. And then we go back down, make a stop, score a bucket, and get the win at the last second.
That's awesome. That sounds like that was a whole bunch of fun. I bet the gym was rocking on the gray side, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
What's your favorite basketball moment? Is that the basketball moment tied into the sports one as well, or do you have another basketball moment?
Yeah, I would say that moment. And then another moment would have been when my friend, we had on the JV team again. We had a couple guys who were brand new to basketball, didn't really play that much, and we put them in this one game. My friend Miles, he never played basketball, but he was very tall, but not very coordinated. He came in against one of the better teams. We were playing Heritage, and he came in, and he scored his first point, and he had the biggest smile on his face run down the court, so that was pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. We all have people we look up to when we grow up, and we all have people that we try to emulate. Who would you say your hero is, or the biggest influences in your life?
I'd probably say my father.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's been there since day one with me. I've tried to copy everything he's done ever since I was a little kid. He got me into most of my sports along with my mom. But, I just looked up to him and wanted to be like him all the time.
Now, you have an awesome dad. I've been fortunate enough, we work together, and I've known him for a while now, but you have an awesome pop. So, when you have a chance to thank him afterwards, as a parent, it's always nice to be thanked for what we do because we don't realize what we're doing until, years down the line when it kind of shows. So, keep thanking Dad for what he's doing for you because he's done a good job, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
What's your goal for this season with us?
My goal for this year is to become a better offensive and defensive player. In the years past, I've been known to be more of a facilitator and passer and not really go and score when I've had the opportunities. And on defense, I've been also known just to relax and not play as hard. And I have played against lesser competition, but this year I'm really looking forward to upping my game and playing to my skill set and being a lockdown defender, just an offensive threat all around.
Now, I'm looking forward to seeing you grow into that role as well. You're going to graduate in 2 years from high school. What's your goal after high school?
My goal after high school is to either run cross country at a smaller, like a HCC for a year and then transfer to a bigger university and major in sports journalism, or just straight up go to a 4-year university for sports journalism.
Okay. Now that you mentioned that, I'll kind of go on that. Do you have a certain sports journalist that you follow or you like to read at this time?
I mainly just follow most of the guys on ESPN or even some of the smaller ones at the Herald Mail, like Andy Mason. I've seen a lot of his stuff. and I just pay attention to all the small little details that they use in their columns and all that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, we're going to supposedly get like 6 to 8 inches of snow over the next couple days. You have downtime. What sports movie are you going to put in to watch? What's your favorite one?
I'd probably have to say Miracle, just because that the momentum I get from that movie, watching them take on the Soviets in the 1980s, and that big crowd chanting USA, it just gives me goosebumps every time.
Nah, that's an awesome movie. Trust me. I like his speech at the end. Every once in a while, I have to rev myself up too, and that's one of the movies that I pop on just to hear that speech. And I could probably YouTube and listen to it every morning and still get pretty pumped up. So.
Yes, for sure.
Well, I hope you have a good rest of your day, bud. I look forward to seeing you at practice. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I loved having Ethan on the show. It's just as important for me to gain information on my players as you guys get to listen to them, and you'll be reading their names in the paper in the next couple of weeks, which I think is really awesome and I'm excited about. But I had no idea that Ethan loves sports journalism and wants to get into it. I've been fortunate enough to cross a lot of paths with people at very high levels in sports journalism, as well as just sports journalisms that have covered our games, have been close to us. I'm really going to help him connect with those guys so that he can be the best at his job moving forward when he decides to graduate college and get into that role. It would be awesome for me and important for him so that he can know the right people in the business. So that is today's show. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. Hopefully the snow holds off and we're able to be back in the gym tomorrow. If not, it'll be a snow day, and we will be able to have a couple people on the show tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to. Thank you for listening to Never in My Wildest Dreams podcast, and we will talk to you soon.